Ni hao, hi everyone. Welcome back to Teacher World. Today, we are going to discuss the top 5 apps I believe you're going to need if you're going to teach in China. Now, although these apps I'm referring to is apps that I use in China, I believe that because most of the apps I'm going to discuss are pretty much general, you can use it in any country that you want to teach in. Let's get right into it. I know it's only 5 apps, but I can't remember the 5 off the top of my head, so we're going to refer to this book here. So the first app I think would be tremendously important is Wechat, app that I use for communication. The app that many Chinese locals use for communication is Wechat. Now, in the United States, the app that we would use for communication would be WhatsApp, but in China, they use Wechat. And to be quite frank, I think Wechat is a lot better. So if you look right here, this is what Wechat will look like. But with Wechat, you can send payments to other people that you need to send payments to. So when I had to pay my landlord, I paid my landlord using Wechat. I linked my bank account to Wechat, and that's how I was able to make payments to my landlord to pay for my rent every month. So you can use Wechat to make payments. You can use Wechat to upload photos that you take. You could use Wechat to upload videos that you take. Wechat could be used to translate. So then if you're communicating with someone that cannot speak the same language as you can translate their messages in the language that you speak. Well, the language would be English, but you can translate messages so that you can have communication and dialogue with anyone who does not speak the same language as you. Now, although Wechat is used mainly in China, there has to be an app that people would be using, or the default app may just be WhatsApp because WhatsApp is pretty known. I don't know how known it is in other parts of the world, but I know we use it in the United States. Actually, I don't use WhatsApp. Wow. Crazy, but I don't use WhatsApp. Ever since I started using Wechat when I was in China, I got hooked onto it. I don't really care for WhatsApp. That's a story for another day. Okay, next. Number 2, Letgo. So this app right here is what I use for translation. It was very helpful because I can't read Chinese characters.
What is
I
that?
can barely speak it. I just know a few survival words, maybe more than a few. But there are some times that I don't understand what I'm hearing if I'm communicating with a Chinese person. So I would type in the pinyin in Pleco and it would translate beautifully. I think using an app, depending on, well, whatever country you're going to teach in, use an app that will allow you to translate so that you can communicate with anyone that you come across. Number 3, I use currency when I was not just teaching in China, but when I would travel to different countries internationally. I'm going to use the app currency because I'm used to the currency in the United States. I know $1 is $1, but that $1, depending on the country that you're traveling to, like Vietnam or Cambodia or Thailand, the equivalent to $1 in those countries is very different. So $1 to us may seem like a little bit, but in other countries, it's a lot of money. So use the currency app. It looks like this right here so that you know. So when you're traveling or you're teaching in a different country, at least you don't get beat. Okay? You don't want to get beat out of your money because they will beat you. If you don't know the currency, you will get beat. The next app that I think would be important would be Explore Shenzhen for transportation. And this app was very helpful because I would take the metro. Wherever I would travel, for the most part, I'm getting on a metro. The metro fare was very, very inexpensive and it was easy to get around. Now, I like that if you take a look right here, this app, Explore Shenzhen, it was in English, so I was able to read wherever I was traveling to. Like I was able to read the stops. I knew when to get off. I knew how far I would have to take the train to or take the metro to reach my destination. So I think that having an app, a transportation app, so that you know where you're traveling to would be helpful. Okay, because if it's in Chinese, if you're traveling and it's in Chinese, next app that I think would be helpful, an app to order food. If you're anything like me, you probably order from Uber Eats. I order from Uber Eats like on a weekly basis, and I'm trying to stop. But in China, I used the app not called Uber Eats because they don't have Uber Eats in China. I used an app called Meituan Food. Now, this is an app that I would use for takeout. So if I wanted to order from KFC or McDonald's or any other restaurant, so not the food chains that we know of in the United States, but there's other restaurants that you can order from. I learned Chinese food that's different from the United States that I became acquainted with by using this app. I think having an app to order food in the country that you're going to teach in will be helpful so that you have something to eat. I think the more that you do to be prepared to teach in the country that you're going to live in, the more comfortable you would be, the more safe you would feel. And I think that you'll have an easier time adjusting to the country that you are in. You'll be out of your comfort zone. Of course, I can understand that because you're in a different country. I did feel out of my comfort zone at first, but then when you build a routine and you're using these apps and you have a way to communicate with people and translate the language so that you can understand what people are saying to you, especially this is a great way to help learn the language because you'll remember a lot of words that is spoken when you hear it often, right? So our ear is trained to notice and memorize certain words that we hear, especially if it's repeated more than once, right? So this is a great way for you to be acclimated in the country that you're going to be teaching in. And maybe instead of teaching there for 1 year, you may continue to teach where you are because you'll be happy to teach where you are and you will expand the length of your contract. You may happen to stay longer like I did. I never thought I was going to be in China for 3 years, but 1 year became 2 years, 2 years became 3 years. And what do you know? Get acclimated and maybe these apps or the apps that you use will help you. Okay, so as you can see, I'm wearing this bow tie. I think the next video that I'm going to make would be the different unique things that I bought when I was living in China. There's a lot of cute things, a lot of stores that I used to go to that I would frequent often. Wearing these bow ties, I have like 20 of them in different colors, and this is just one of them. So in my next video, I think that is what I'm going to share with you. If there's any topics that you would like for me to share more information about, just let me know in the comments below. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. If you enjoyed watching this video, please like and subscribe below, and I will see you next time. Bye.